And we are live through the magic of the interwebs. We're live here at Home Built Workshop, hanging out for Wednesday Live. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the shop. What is happening? How's everybody doing this fine Wednesday? Hope you're all doing awesome. Thanks for tuning in as we get situated here to talk about what's going on in your workshop, in your world, all of the fun stuff that we always talk about. What's happening? Let's see here. Paul's here. Good morning, Paul. And Robert's here. Robert says hello, people. What's up, Robert? Paul says back working at home on Wednesdays, so hope to be able to join you guys again. Right on, Paul. That's awesome. We missed you. Hope you're doing good. Right on, right on. Alrighty. As we get settled in here, of course, I got my cup of coffee. It's good today, too. I don't know how that works. Some days it just tastes better than others, even though I make it exactly the same. All right. So what are you guys working on? What's going on? What kind of projects are in the works? We'll get to what I got going here in a few minutes. And Larry's here. Larry says, first time here, need to get my earbuds. It's noisy here. Right on, Larry. Well, welcome. And thanks for tuning in to Wednesday Live here at Home Built Workshop. Glad to have you aboard. Right on. Yeah, so just a quick rundown for Larry, especially who's new. Just some time. We're talking shop stuff. We're talking what I'm working on and talking about what you're working on. And it's always an open conversation. If you got questions about a project or something you're curious about, as long as it's, a friendly topic, well, just feel free, chime in. We usually end up talking about some random thing, and but don't be shy. Feel free to chime in, and everybody's always really helpful. If you got something we need to brainstorm or something to try to figure out, open conversation, not a particular topic, and shop related type stuff, and yeah. So welcome. Robert says your acoustic body still needs binding. It looks like yes. I'll show you that here in just a minute. I'll show you where I'm at on that. Nicholas is here. Nicholas says, hey, got both my mahogany sides bent. Yay. Oh, that's awesome, man. Congratulations. Nice. That's exciting. Do you have your neck blocks and stuff in yet? Right on. I'm glad you got them. I know you were struggling with it a little bit, but that's awesome. Paul says working on special orders, GGBO guitar, and a charity bass build. Nice. Larry says, now I can hear you. Fans on in the garage. Right on. Right on, Larry. Oh, I didn't notice that. Maybe you didn't hear me a minute ago. Just saying, since you're new, just a quick rundown. It's always an open conversation here. We don't have a specific topic. It's really just kind of like a bunch of us hanging out. I'm almost always drinking my coffee, but if there's something you got a question or a project or something you're working on, feel free. Just chime in. There's not a specific topic, so feel free to ask away. And welcome. Dallo's here. Dallo says, good Wednesday. Dallo, how are you? Good Wednesday to you. I was going to say good morning, but it's morning here. Harry Dude's here. What's up? Hello, everyone. Harry Dude says, what's going on, man? How are your projects going on? Are you on your break yet? That is now, right? Hopefully everything is going well. And Neptunes is here. Neptune says, hello, everyone. Working today. So sorry, can't mod. No worries, man. No worries. I appreciate you being able to tune in. Right on, Neptunes. Alrighty. So, as Robert noticed, let me show you where I'm at on the acoustic. It's not a ton different. It's It's not a lot different than where it was last week. If you remember last week, I was working on those rack boxes. So I finished those up. I'll show you that in a moment. But while I was waiting for hardware to come in for those things, I did get the sides, or I did get the top and the back trimmed flush and mostly sanded. I've got just a couple little wavy spots that I need to finish sanding. But overall, this is almost ready to cut binding for. Right in here, I got to do a little bit of sanding yet. And I think maybe a little bit right in here. Just a little bit, just getting everything smoothed up. Of course, before you cut your binding channels, you want to have the sides all sanded flush, because any irregularities that are in the sides are going to translate into the binding. So if you got a weird lump or something, you're going to have a weird lump in your binding if you don't sand it first. So I've got just a little bit of sanding left to smooth this all out, and then I'm ready to cut the binding channels. I do have the binding all made up, and the purfling. So as soon as I finish doing a little sanding here, then I'll dig out the binding jig, which, where is it? Right there. I got to get that down, and we'll get that guy set up and cut the binding channels. So haven't got a ton of progress on this since we talked last, but I did get this routed flush and spent quite a while sanding. So that's coming along good. We're about to get back to this though. Let's see. Catch back up with you guys. Let's see here. Dello says it's actually Thursday here. Happy Thursday, Dello. Harry Dude says, yep, today I finished building a crosscut box joint jig for the table saw. Now I have to dial in the thicknesser, and then we get to building a couple little boxes that I need to do. Right on. A box joint jig. Speaking of box joint jigs. Nicholas says, no to neck blocks. Need to decide how I want to attach the neck. Are you thinking of doing something a little bit different than a typical mortise and tenon? Robert said, just went to the post office a while ago. Took about 40 minutes to go through the almost 1.5 pounds of junk mail. Oh boy. Yeah, I need to stop by the P.O. box one of these days. A lot of times it's the same. It's junk mail. Occasionally there's some important things in there that I need to take care of, but most of the time it's junk mail. Thankfully, ours has a very large trash can right outside of the P.O. boxes, so so I can just heave it all right in there. Nicholas says, dovetail, mortise and tenon, Taylor style, or Martin Keith style. There's a lot of options. There's a lot of options. I will say, let me grab this back. A typical, just a normal mortise and tenon, I think is probably the easiest. Doesn't mean you have to go that route for sure. You can, there's a bunch of different ways to do it. Where you just cut a mortise in here and you have a tenon on the end of your neck that just pops in there. A couple of bolts go through the neck block. I'm sure you're familiar with the way that works. And then you just glue down the fretboard tongue. And yeah, that's how I'm going to be doing this one. I've been intrigued though with the total bolt-on neck. I don't know if you guys haven't seen it. I didn't build this guitar to be assembled that way, so I'm not going to do it. But a lot of times, if they're going to do a complete bolt-on neck, which I really like that idea, they'll have a block inside right here along with the neck block, so that you have your bolts from the inside this way, but you also have some bolts coming up through. So if I can do this without dropping it. So you would reach in here and put your bolts straight up through. It bolts the neck, the fretboard tongue down, and then bolts in from the top. It's really kind of cool, and I really like that. Nothing gets glued down, so you can just undo the bolts and pull the neck off, which I really like that idea. but I didn't build this way. So this one's going to be mortise and tenon, and then fretboard tongue glued down. Let's see. Larry says, I'm building my second StewMac Dreadnought kit and learning. Want to look at a few minor changes. One is to slightly move the X bracing closer to the sound hole to enrich the bass. Thoughts on that? I'd have to do a little bit of studying myself to really be able to fully answer that question. This is only my second acoustic build as well. I don't fully understand all of the science really that goes into that. There's a lot of stuff, as I'm sure you know, that goes into things that potentially will affect the sound. The position of the X braces, I'm not 100% sure how that relates to the tone, to be completely honest with you. I do know that the depth of the body has some impact on that as well. I believe the deeper the body, it helps to bring out the bass on that. But I honestly can't say that if you shift the X brace, what that it really does to the tone. But I would say if you want to try it, go for it, because that's how I learn the best, and is just to try something and see what happens. The position of the braces, I know, does impact the sound of the instrument, but exactly how, like I said, this is only my second build, so I don't yet fully have the understanding of all that. There's a lot of good information online, but like a lot of information online, you win some and you lose some. Let's just say that. I think if I was, with the understanding that I have right now of the whole construction process and bracing and all of that, I think if I wanted to increase bass, I might consider making the body a little bit thicker. I don't mean a lot, but I forget what the dimensions are on my plan, and I got it half covered up right now. But I think I would consider maybe making it just a little bit deeper, because I do understand that too affects the bass. That's an option. I don't know I don't know if everything's dimensioned in the kit build, because I haven't put one of their kits together. But I don't see any reason why you couldn't shift the braces up a little bit. Keep in mind though, when you move that, it's going to you're going to probably need to adjust the size of your bridge plate, right? Because that goes into the corner of your X brace. Maybe it doesn't, but you may or may not need to change the size of that, because when you move the braces forward, the bridge plate stays the same, so your braces are going to move. So I think that's going to change maybe the width of the bridge plate. So just something to keep in mind. You might need to change that, because you can't really move the bridge plate up, right? Because your strings still need to go through that. And if you move it up, you don't want to miss the bridge plate. So if you do adjust it, just make sure that everything still lands on your bridge plate from there. Just a thought, something that came to mind. You might have already thought about that, but I just want to throw that out there. Nicholas says, hopefully an active adjustable style will work. Adjustable style neck. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways. My buddy Matt with Zimbelman Guitars, his local here in town, he did tell me, as far as like a dovetail type of neck, he said that can be very tricky to get everything in alignment. When you're fitting your neck, um, you have a lot of surfaces that you have to sand, to get everything in alignment. So just keep that in mind. Okay, Sam's here. Sam says hello. Good morning, Sam. Well, good afternoon. Good afternoon to you. Robert says likes, people, please. Yeah, guys, if you enjoy these lives, hit that thumbs up button. I appreciate it. Helps the channel. It shows YouTube that this is the funnest hangout ever. Cheers. Nicholas says Red Tree Guitars has some nice videos on total bolt-on design. Yeah, I feel like I've seen some of the Red Tree videos. But yeah, I like that design. I really do. And I think at some point on one of the next builds, I will really consider doing that design, because I do like the idea. Oh, I missed Paul's there. Paul says, my buddy at Lame Horse Guitars does a bolt-on neck that's adjustable. It works very nice. Nicholas says, yes, I like Chris's design. Yeah, there's something about the idea that you can just unbolt it and take it off, and it works well. So it's appealing. Paul said, placement of bracing, not as important as thickness. Heavier or thicker braces will transmit a different sound than thinner ones. That's sort of my understanding. Is the stiffness of the brace and how well it lets that top resonate. But I don't know how I want to say that. I don't yet understand the changes that I would need to make if I wanted to accentuate the bass from while working on the top. You know what I mean? Like I said, you can make the sides, make the body a little deeper. But if I had the top and it was fully braced and I needed to know, how to carve it, how to shape it, how much flex is gonna affect the bass, what changes to make to increase the bass, I'm not 100% sure on that. I just haven't done enough acoustic builds to fully understand that whole entire process. Dallas says, if you want to take a look for fully bolt-on neck, I recommend the videos from Red Tree. There you go. Yeah, I need to watch some more of their stuff. Larry says, good point. I was going to shorten the bridge plate, but better take a closer look at that. Yeah, just make sure that wherever you place your brace, that the bridge plate is going to land under the bridge. You don't want to glue everything in and then glue the bridge plate in, but it was inadvertently shifted up because the bracing was shifted up, and now when you drill your bridge pin holes, they fall below the bridge plate. That would be a drag. You'd have to, I don't know, splice in a piece or something. Yeah, just make sure everything lines up. If you need to adjust the size of the bridge plate, there's no reason you can't do that. Sam says, are there devices that can audibly change a guitar to sound like other stringed instruments? For instance, if you're playing a song and wanted to produce a small harp melody with a tiny part. Yes, there are. There are, and they're actually pretty fun to play around with. I don't own one myself, but I've messed around with it in the past. There are, like an electric guitar. Let's see, were you talking about electric? I would imagine. So just for electric guitar, for instance, there are you can connect it if you have a MIDI pickup. There's MIDI pickups that you put in there to where you run it into. Well, it doesn't even have to be MIDI. I think now I think they have other ones you could just run it into. But there are basically kind of like a synth module, a MIDI module, and you plug it into that, and you can get so many different sounds Actually, Harry Dude said Roland GK system. Yes, I think that's the one that I have played around with before. It is pretty cool, some of the different sounds that you can get out of it. The ones that I know I have messed with have a separate pickup. I believe it's like a like a piezo pickup in the saddles, or something like that. Maybe it was tied into the regular pickups, but I think there's a special pickup that runs into a MIDI controller, basically a MIDI synth, and you just call up whatever presets you want, and you can change and modify, and it's really fun to play with when you've got it. You got it set to violin or piano even, I think, and there's so many different ones, and you're playing it, and it's a totally different sound coming out of the speakers, and it's pretty fun. If you ever get the chance to try one out, I would go try one. Maybe there's a music shop or something. It's really fun to play with. I have never used one, like, I don't own one myself, but a friend of mine had one, and just to mess around with, and it's really pretty cool. So yes, there are devices like a MIDI, the Roland. Yeah, the Roland one comes to mind. Really cool to play with. Nicholas says, should have been action adjustable, not active adjustable. Gotcha. Stupid autocorrect. Gotcha. Action adjustable. I mean, a truss rod should likely take care of that for you. The biggest thing is you've got to get that neck angle. You got to get that neck angle right before you secure everything down. The tip back on it, and that was one of the most tedious steps in the first guitar build. Again, because it was the first guitar build, but it did take quite some time. You've got to get your bridge position, your saddle position, and then you work out the neck angle to where everything lines up, and then when you bolt it down, then from there you should be able to adjust it with just a truss rod. Here's an interesting tip. Well, not really a tip, but an interesting tidbit. The acoustic guitar that I built last year, I have a two-way adjustable truss rod and 2 carbon fiber rods for support. I have yet to have to adjust that truss rod. Once everything was set, and the neck was radiused, flattened, and all of that. So when I put it on, it was basically dead flat. When I strung it up, it put just a little bit of forward bow in it, and it was the perfect amount. And I have not touched that truss rod. I can't believe that I haven't had to adjust it, but I haven't. It's perfect. I mean, it's got a nice low action, but yeah, I haven't had to mess with it at all. Robert says, I was watching a new video build of Daisy Tempest starting a new build of an acoustic guitar. She started with the top, got the sound hole and rosette done, and the bracing. The top is spruce. I saw that same video, Robert, where she did the paper, that paper rosette with copper purfling, which I thought was really cool. Yep, I saw that pop up yesterday and had a look at that. Dastardly Dave! Dave's here. Dave said, sup all? Sup, Dave? How are you this fine Wednesday morning? Paul said, George Loudon of Loudon Guitars has a great video on bracing. Now, don't have the link, but take a look for it. He uses a non-standard bracing on his guitars. I think I've seen some of his videos. Yep, there's a bracing pattern that I want to try. Actually, Robert, I think I saw it in Daisy's video. The double, the X brace and then a lower X brace. I think I want to try that. Instead of the 2 tone bars, she has a X brace at the bottom as well, smaller one, which I thought was kind of cool. Sam said electric. Yes, there it is. Harry Dude, Roland GK. Sam said, oh, okay. Yeah, check them out, Sam. Roland GK system. Larry said, thanks, Paul. We'll research Loudon. Here it says, some systems use the piezo, one per string, or a special pickup with 6 individual pickups to capture each string, then converts it to MIDI. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I should put one in a guitar just to try to mess around with. Mike said, "Sorry I'm late. I'm seeing some electronics on the table." Say what? Yeah, well, I'll show you in a second. And good morning. Don't let those other Mike Johnsons boss you around. Robert says, "I know that spruce is popular wood for acoustic guitar tops, but it's most likely one of the most boring to look at." Well, I mean, yeah, I know what you're saying. I really like the cleanness of spruce. It's just very white, mostly white and clean and clear. But yeah, there's not a whole lot. There's not like figure really or anything going. But there's something about the cleanness of it that I do really like. It's definitely different than this Port Orford cedar. This is not really a figured. There's a little bit of streaking in it, maybe. I don't know if you'd call it streaking, but there's kind of like this darker grainy part down the center. But there's not a whole lot. There's a lot of dust on it, but there's not really much there to look at either. But it does have a little bit of color as opposed to just a almost white spruce. But there is something I like about that really white, clean look. Larry says, "Spruce sounds so good." Yes, it does. I agree. My first acoustic was Engelmann spruce, an Engelmann spruce top. This one is a Port Orford cedar. I also have I've got a couple other pieces of Port Orford cedar that might work for a top. What's the other one? Oh, a German spruce. I have a piece of, I don't know if I want to call it old growth. It might not be old growth, but it is old. Piece of German spruce set aside for a build at some point. But yeah, that one should be pretty cool. Mike says, "Guitars serve function, sound, and visual." Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Sam says, "Uh-oh, my laptop's not working." Stop dancing. Does it have a reset button? I don't know. Hit the reset button and come back. Adela says, "I love the clean look. Elegant." Yes, yes, that's an excellent word. There's an elegance to the clean white spruce. Yeah, but yes, visually, I mean, I totally understand what you're saying, Robert. There's not a ton to look at, but on the other hand, I kind of like that there's not a ton to look at. There's like that elegance to the clean whiteness. Hope that makes sense. I totally know what you're saying though. So let me set this aside. Let me show you what I've been working on the last couple days. So remember last week I showed you sort of a mock-up of these rack boxes that I've been working on. So I finished up the one that I showed you last week was sort of my trial run. Well, I got that all together and it worked out fine. So I just finished up the second one because I need 2 of these. I'm going to have one sitting on either side of my desk holding a few different pieces of gear. I just finished putting this one together. Ugh. So here's this one. It's just a 19-inch little rack box, not a road case, not a flight case, not intended for playing out live, but it's got box joints on the sides, the stuff in the back. I just got to finish shooting a couple of little bits for the video, and then this guy will get set on the desk and everything connected. I got my trusty yet old Boss GT Pro in here because I want to be able to use that Since I haven't been playing out in quite some time, it's been sitting in a little padded rack case, and I haven't really been able to use it. So now I'm going to have it in here, at least for the time being. If I start playing out again, I might pull it out, but for now, it's going to sit in that box, and I'll have it connected to the computer, and you know, I'll be able to use it, and it's going to be cool. I got to dig some of my stuff out of my rack, my other rack case, the old school Furman. I don't think they make them with the blue anymore, which I kind of like the blue, but yeah, I think it's going to be cool. It's going to be nice to be able to have some of my stuff connected again, and at least more accessible than they were before. But yeah, just finished up this box. It's made out of 1/2-inch plywood. Depending on what you're using it for, I may or may not use 1/2-inch plywood, but for what I'm using it for, just to sit on the desk and hold this stuff, it's going to be perfect. And yeah. Robert said spruce does produce a nice clean tone, and that is most likely the main reason it is liked for guitars. If I remember correctly, Daisy used a moon spruce from Switzerland in her current build. Yes, she did, moon spruce. Sam says, not everyone gets to expose the racks like that. Sorry about that. Neptune says, looks good. Mike says, look good. I've always liked the inset look, so you don't knock around the knobs. Yes, I agree with you on that one. But I was not worried about this because, like I said, this is not intended at all to be toted around, you know, on a regular basis. You know, if I was building a box for that purpose, I would absolutely basically double this box. If I can show you, this is kind of hard to hold up and explain things at the same time. So this is just one, let's see if I can put this up here without dropping it. So this is just one layer, box jointed. See that fly? Box jointed together. If I was building this for more mobile use, I would basically do this, and then I would build another box around it so it's double layered. The outer layer would come out farther, and then I could put a lid on the front, and everything would be recessed. But for my use with this, it's going to sit on the desk, and its only job really is to hold the gear, so that I can reach up, you know, make adjustments, whatever it is I need to do. For this application, I'm not really worried about the knobs. Like I said, though, if it was for any other use than that, I totally would have everything recessed in there. Dastardly Dave says, sweet box, I have the same Furman in my bass rack. Yes, it's like the older Furmans. I pulled this out of my guitar rack from my live rig that I haven't used in quite some time. I'm going to have, you know, I'll have like my computer monitors and stuff plugged into it, and, you know, some other things. It's going to work out great. And I'm really excited actually to be able to have some of this gear back out instead of in the rack box collecting dust on the outside of the rack box. Yeah, it's a great Furman. I do have one of the newer ones. It doesn't have the blue, which I don't know. I like the blue. I don't know why they changed that. Does yours have you have the one with the lights? Although I don't really need the lights now, because it is going to be inside. But it is kind of cool because it has the pull-out lights, and then you can turn on the lights and things. I used to have colored gels on there. I taped some, you know, little colored, like the little, I don't know, the vellum gels or whatever they are. I used to have colored gels on there, so when I turned on the rack, everything would light up in red, and it was kind of cool looking. Robert said, looks like it's going to be fun to plug in that in the power plugs in your box. May want to print some kind of long reach plug-in holder for that. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be too bad. once I get everything plugged in, yeah, I can reach in there without too many issues. It won't be too bad to get up in here and plug things in. And then it's really, again, it's only a one-time thing, really. Once I have it connected, I'm not going to be unplugging them and, you know, moving it around place to place, that sort of thing. So I think it's going to work good, and I'm excited. Paul says, spruce has great tone, but also has nice, tight grain patterns in it. Yes, the tight grain is really cool. Spruce is just a really nice-looking material. Della says, I'm not sure how much that audio makes heat. Is it okay with dissipating heat? I did consider putting in some vents for that reason, but this processor is solid state. There's no tubes or anything in there. And the case that flies, man. The case that it was in has no ventilation other than the front and the back, and I've never had an issue. I used to use that for hours at a time, you know, playing shows at night. You know, basically you're playing the whole night, 4 or 5 hours or whatever, and I've never had any issue with anything getting hot. So I'm not too concerned about this. If it was some other type of gear, maybe I've got a tube preamp. If it was something like that, I'm not using that in this box. But that does need a little bit of air. I'm not worried about it for this application. It just doesn't seem to be an issue. And if it is, you know, I'll just cut some holes in the sides, put in some vents, something like that, and you know, keep on rolling. But at this moment, I don't have any concerns with heat. Robert says, you got a very nice tight fit of the components into the box. Yep, that's exactly what I wanted. So their rack gear is kind of cool because it does have specific sizes, right? So they're 19 inches wide, always. Well, unless you get a half unit, I guess. But a full width rack unit is 19 inches wide and 1 3/4 inches tall. And that is the standard. So what I have are some 3-space rack rails in here. And no matter what I put in there, I could take this 2-space unit out and bolt in 2 single-space units, and it would fit exactly the same. That's kind of the cool part about rack stuff. They have standards, and it meets those standards, and it's just going to fit. So it kind of makes it easy to build stuff like this because you don't have to specifically measure the gear that you have. If you just know that it's 19 inches wide and 1 3/4 inches tall, it's going to fit pretty much any combination of gear that you put in there. Sam says, don't forget to like. Thanks, Sam. Dave says, yep, pull out lights. Yeah. Dude says, got a Furman in my mixer rack. Never go to a gig without a power conditioner. Has saved my gigs and my gear. Yes, I agree. Furman, for me, the Furman is the way to go for that sort of stuff. For protecting pretty much anything. I even have some Furman power strips. You know, it's like a big long cord, and instead of the rack mount deal, it's just a power strip. And Furman stuff, in my opinion, works really well, and it's kind of my go-to if I'm looking for some good surge protection and stuff like that. There's others out there that people use, but for me, I like the Furman stuff. It's good stuff. So yeah, so that's what I've been working on. Got that done. Just got to finish editing the video. That's going to be out this weekend, and then it's back to the acoustic guitar. This wasn't a super complicated build, but you know, when you if you've ever filmed something while you're working on it, you could take something you could do in an afternoon, and it'll take 2 days or 3 days. So it just took a little bit longer. I got to get to editing this afternoon after I plug this in, and yeah, then we'll be back on the acoustic hopefully tomorrow. But yeah, I'm excited. I kind of want to get some of this stuff back out and connected. So Let's see. Sam says you have minor issues stopping the streams. I think there's a way to use a smartwatch with cellular phones for that. Really? I haven't seen anything drop out on our end, my end, but that doesn't mean it's not. I am using my phone right now for the internet connection, and yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry if it's dropping out, but I haven't seen it hasn't done anything wonky on this side. Robert said, very much like computer rack systems. I helped install and uninstall computer servers in rack systems when I was working. Some of the bigger multiple height servers were real heavy to install. Yeah, they are. From what I understand, it's a 19-inch rack system. It's the same thing as these, and in fact, you could install these probably in a computer rack. Yep, the same idea, the same sort of stuff. Pretty much rack mount stuff is super easy to work with. Mike says definitely show the cable connections. Stream is fine here. Show the cable connections for the gear, like when I actually plug it in. Oops, I'm hitting stuff accidentally. Mike, what is it? What is it you'd like to see? I wasn't planning on covering any of the connections of this, but it was mainly building the box. But is there something that you'd like me to see, or you'd like me to show? Rick's here. Rick says, "Hey Jeff. Hey Rick, what's going on?" Sam says, I don't mean the dropping, rather you're not getting the button due to the button size. Oh. Yeah, I don't know. Mike said, yes. Well, interesting. Mike, I'm trying to, what is it you would like to see? Because, like I said, I wasn't intending to show the connections, but there's no reason I couldn't. So let's see here if I can get these cables out of the way. I'm just going to tuck those up in there. The main reason that I wasn't really going to show any of the connections is because, well, the video, and I'm not saying I can't if there's something you want to see. The video is mainly about building the box. But the connections on here are going to be different, or could quite possibly be different for just about everybody, depending on their setup and what they have. So this one in particular, cords. So this one has a boatload of different types of connections on it. This is quite a bit older processor. They don't make this anymore. They haven't made it for years. But there's a ton of different things, a lot of different inputs, outputs, foot switches, all kinds of stuff. You know, you even got like optical and digital and all sorts of different things. MIDI in and out, different. I mean, pretty much every option that you might want is available on here. All I'm going to be using on here is probably these XLR, or probably just the one XLR is going to run into my recording interface into the computer. I may connect I have a MIDI foot switch that I might use on it. I do have, where'd it go? I have a pedal that I can connect to these to control different things. I don't know exactly what all I'm going to use yet, but there's just a ton of different ways you can connect this thing, depending on what you're trying to do with it. Let's see here. Harry Dude says, yep, all the same rack systems. I have PC gear that is rack mounted. Neptune says, yep, they would fit in my server rack if I had room. Rick says, just woke up making coffee. Right on, Rick. Cheers to you. Robert said, last couple of streams I had some issues with the video freezing, but today has been stable. What I had to do was simply click the reload button on the browser. Interesting, maybe that's all it takes. Mike said, okay, most times people show video without showing how it affects the workspace in front. I'll show it in place. I can do that. That's no big deal. He says, maybe just a consideration. Just ignore me, please. No, don't say that. I don't want to ignore you. I'm trying to understand what would be helpful to show, because, like I said, I wasn't intending to show any of that. I was just going to say, well, it's ready to be put to use or something like that, and away I go. But if it's helpful to, I can show it in the workspace, absolutely. If that's helpful, and how I'm going to have it set up. Yeah, I can do that. At the end, I'll do a show it in place kind of shot. Yeah, that's not a problem at all. So you can see kind of how it's gonna sit and work for me. Your results may vary, but yeah, that's a good idea. I'll make sure to include that in there so you can see kind of how I'm intending this to be used, kind of why I'm not worried about the knobs or any of that sort of thing. So yeah, I can do that. Larry says to Robert, I was having buffering issues sitting in my garage, but came indoors about 30 minutes ago. Been solid since. Sam says you can make custom speaker cabinets. Well, Sam, it's on my list. That is something I want to do. Yep, I want to build I'd like to build a 212 cabinet. I think that would be fun. I don't have a 212, so I kind of want to build one at some point. I got to do a little more research on that, and yeah, I definitely want to do it. Oh, let's see. Steve Felly says, awesome channel. Greetings from Buenos Aires, Argentina. Right on. Greetings, Steve. Welcome. How's everything in Buenos Aires? Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. How's everybody in Argentina? Say hello to everyone. That's awesome. Robert says to Sam, you may just need to adjust the size of your browser window. Easy way to hold the left control key and tap the plus or minus keys to adjust the size. I do that on accident sometimes. I just hit, you can control and like scroll wheel. I think it's control. Maybe it's alt Windows. I don't know. And like everything zooms out. Dello says, how much do you spend for buying each tone wood? It's really hard to get enough quality of tone wood with reasonable price here. That's a hard question to answer. For me, I've not ordered. There's a lot of places you can get tone wood. I can't really give a number, honestly. I've bought some this past spring. I went to a guitar show up in Denver, and there was a vendor up there selling some tone woods. He had really good prices on top sets and things, and I bought a couple from him. I can't remember what it was, but it was around maybe $40 to $50 for the pieces that I bought. Man, it's really hard to answer because there's so many different things that you can use. You can use, if you want like the 4A stuff, 5A, maybe it's 5A. Or you want just like a one that's not quite as high quality. It's really hard. Sometimes I'll go on eBay and I'll buy some stuff from a couple of vendors on eBay, and I'm sorry, I can't really give a good explanation and just say, give you a fixed dollar amount. I've bought mahogany sets. I don't remember what I spent for that, but I think it was around the top, back, and sides. It came from an eBay seller. I want to say it was under $100. I can't remember. I can't. That's a hard question. You start asking cost, and then you try to factor in different countries. If you have to pay like taxes and duties and all of that. So I don't really know. I can't give you a solid answer, and I apologize for that. It's just really hard. But I can tell you that I do try to shop around as much as I can. I also try to avoid the big suppliers, not the big suppliers, but like um, the I don't know how to word that without throwing someone under the bus. uh, the big If you go to the big U.S. tool supplier for guitar stuff, I don't buy wood from them. I haven't found them to be the best deal. That's not saying their material is no good. I'm not saying that at all, but I do like to try to find a good deal, and I will spend some time trying to search around. I don't know about shipping, and I don't know what they have in stock, but I do know that LMI, Luthier's Mercantile, is closing, and they've been having some sales on their stuff. Maybe you could check out their site, see if they have anything that that might work for what you're looking for. That's a hard question. I don't typically like to talk about costs and things, because what I can find something for in one part of the world could be wildly different in another part of the world. Nicholas says, Argentina, home of the best steaks on the planet. Paul says, just purchased some walnut, and it was $25 per board foot. Mahogany hits me about $20 per board foot. Yeah, that's another pretty much cost in general, not just guitar materials. I used to buy a lot of my material from my local hardwood dealer, which you guys have seen I've been out there a few times in several videos. Unfortunately, they are moving from the area and are no longer in business, which I'm really bummed out about, because not only was it a reliable supplier for me, but also I really like the people out there. So I want to wish everybody out there at JW Hardwoods, wish you guys the best. But yeah, I used to get my material from them. Now I don't know where I'm going to get some of this material from. I got to get some rosewood for some fretboards and bridge blanks. I gotta spend a little time searching around myself for some of that, because they're no longer available to be my source for rosewood. And I'm bummed out about that. Sam said, today is fine on Imagine. I was saying because Jeff sometimes misses the button. Oh, and has to repress it. Oh, you mean at the end? Yes, you're right. All the time. I press the button. It's right there. There's a little X. I hit that. Sometimes that doesn't go. When it does go, it pops up another box that's right about here, and it says, do you really want to end, or something like that, and I hit. I'm with you, Sam. I got you. Nicholas says, dang, Paul, walnut here's about 17 to 19. Mahogany's around 15. We need to go visit Nicholas. Paul says, home built. Oh, the ambrosia maple was just under 100 a couple years ago. Dang. Yeah, it's hard, man. Finding good deals. Material is relatively easy to get. Yeah, like it's not hard to just go online and find a really nice set. The challenge is trying to find a really nice set that doesn't cost you an arm, two legs, and that's the challenge. Nicholas says, you can almost always get a better deal on the wood if you find a local lumber yard and size your own boards. I 100% agree, and that's why I'm bummed out that my local hardwood guy is no longer my local hardwood guy. When I needed stuff, that would be where I would go. Good prices, great people out there. So yeah. I got to find some rosewood. I need rosewood for a fretboard and a bridge blank. If anybody's got a line on some, shoot me a message. Robert said, Australian guitar timbers sometimes has some nice tone woods at decent prices. The shipping is something to consider. I bought several tops from them. Nicholas says, you're always welcome. Right on. Well, thank you. We'll go load up on materials and drink some coffee. Larry says, one thing you have to consider is the wood condition. S4S will be more than S3S, 2S, and raw per board foot. It's very hard to come up with a set price per board foot. I agree with that. Yes. You know, the more finished your material is, the higher it's going to cost because more work has gone into it. I like to buy mine. Most of the stuff that I buy is, I think, S2S. Most of it has been, yes, because I've had to do the sides and everything. You know, mahogany and that sort of thing. But yeah, you know, it just depends. A lot of that also depends on your capabilities. What can you handle in your shop? Can you take an S2S and then get it jointed, and or raw lumber? Can you take a raw piece of wood right off the mill and plane and joint and all of that? If you can, you know, it does add some time to your project, but it's, in my opinion, totally worth it if you've got the capabilities to make it usable wood. Harry Dude says, I bought rosewood from a local eBay seller, but that probably doesn't help you. It might. I don't know. Yeah, I got to spend some time looking around, finding some rosewood boards. In the past, I've been buying stuff from my local guy. I think it was 1 inch, might have been 3/4. I don't remember exactly. You know, just in board, somewhere around fretboard size boards of rosewood. I'd resaw it, and you could get a bridge blank and a fretboard basically out of one resawn piece. And I wished I'd have bought some, you know, sooner in preparation. But I went out there a week or two ago, and then fortunately they had everything packed up for the rosewood, and I was like, dang it, I should have come out earlier, but I didn't. So now I got to find a different source. But eBay, I've had good luck with a couple sellers on eBay buying stuff, so hopefully I can find some decent pieces on there. And I'm not looking for, you know, the rare, what is it, the East Indian rosewood or anything like that. I just want rosewood. Sam says, for the outside space you could make a deck and a mini bar. That'd be cool. Yeah, I got a fair bit of outside space, just don't have much inside shop space. Right on, right on. Yeah, that would be cool. A little mini bar. Not that I drink, but a mini coffee bar. How about that? That'd be kind of cool. Oh, hey, this total random change of topic. Have any of you guys ever roasted your own coffee? For some reason, building a coffee roaster has been tumbling around in my head. See what I did there? I've never done that. I always buy ground. But for some reason, I've kind of been intrigued with the idea of building a coffee roaster and trying to roast my own. Have you guys ever done that? Is it worth it? How's that for a random change of topic? Nicholas says, I just got some African blackwood and Brazilian rosewood sets for some builds 20 years in the future. Nice, yes. See, my buddy Matt does that all the time. He finds a good deal and just buys all these materials, and he's got materials for years and years. I guess I should have done that too. But the problem is I don't have a whole lot of space to store a lot of stuff, so I got to be a little careful. But yeah, that's awesome. If you can stock up on it and already have it on hand, I think that's an awesome way to go. For several reasons, right? Prices are likely going to go up, sadly enough. So if you can get it now at what you feel is a decent price, that's a win. Plus, now it's got time to sit in your climate, in your shop or whatever, and acclimate continue to dry, whatever, and it'll be ready to use when you use it. It's just a great idea and something that I need to do too. Larry says, guitar finish. What are your thoughts? I did my first one with tung oil and it was fine, but darker than I wanted. Did a mahogany ukulele with Rubio, and it was gorgeous. Interesting. Finishes finishes are one of those topics I think that, depending on who you're talking to, it's like the tone wood debate in electric guitars, which we're not going to start. I'm not going there. But there are so many different options for finish that it is mind blowing, really. I mean, there's so many different things you can do. And you will find people all over the place that swear that their method is the only way to do it. Some people swear by nitrocellulose lacquer. Some people swear by French polish shellac. A lot of people use true oil, which I've seen amazing results from a lot of different types of finish, and I feel that the finish that you choose to use, you need to choose the one that you want to use, right? My thoughts are any of them can fit the bill. I tend to like ones that more of a film building finish, just for the extra protection. Things like a lacquer, a poly, or my last one I used a water-based, basically a water-based lacquer kind of. I like those because if your intention is to get a high gloss finish, most of the time you're going to need to do something that builds up layers. You could do that with true oil. You could do that with even tung oil. You can use a polymerized tung oil and build up several layers over time. There's a lot of ways you can go for a guitar finish. I like that you used the Rubio and tried that out, because while it doesn't build up the high gloss protective kind of candy shell, there's something that I like about being able to really feel that oil finish, right, of the wood. It just doesn't offer a ton of protection to bumps and bruises. That would be maybe the downside. But I feel really the finish that works the best for you, that you can apply in your environment, and basically that just works for your process, is the one to use. I am not one to say you got to use this type of finish. I am fully aware that there's thousands of different ways you could do that. Maybe not thousands, but maybe there will. There's just a lot of ways you can go. There's pros and cons, I think, to all of them. Like spraying some type of finish that you're going to have to wet sand and buff later. That's a lot of extra work. But that is what I've done on many guitars, solid bodies, and I did it on my acoustic last year. I'm not telling you one way or another is the better way to go. I just do what you want to do. Don't be afraid to use something, even though someone else is telling you no, you got to use nitro. If you want to use nitro, use nitro. If you don't want to use nitro, don't use nitro. I don't want to use nitro. I will say that I know that it's kind of a traditional finish. A lot of people like that for the vintage type finish. To me, it's just, I don't know. It's just not the choice that I want to make. So I've been wanting to try Osmo on a guitar. I think it'd be a cool finish for an acoustic, the Osmo oil. But the thing I don't like about it is the lack of protection. So I choose to use something that will build up in layers and sort of add just a little bit of protection to the wood, especially that soft spruce. Mike says, just picked up a lot of rosewood yesterday, but it was already made into Fender George Harrison Telecaster. Nice. Nicholas said, I had a friend that did. The quality that came out was definitely worth it once he learned not to burn it. Paul said, Crimson Guitars makes a great finishing oil, doesn't darken too much, and looks great, easy to apply. Yes, I agree. I have used the Crimson Guitars finishing oil, and I really do like it. It's one of my favorite finishes on a neck. In my experience, well, the last neck I used it on, well, maybe not the last neck, but one neck that I put it on was a piece of cherry, and you know how cherry darkens over time anyway. When I put the oil on it, now that it's been like 2 years maybe, it's really dark, which I don't mind at all, but it did darken it up quite a lot. But that's cherry. You put on a maple. I've done it on maple. It doesn't really darken it too much. Gives it a little bit of an amber look, and I think it worked. It works really well. It's really easy to apply too. Robert said, I once bought a thin oak burl top that the pattern in the burl once book matched. Looks like a large wolf paw print. Cool. They had several sets. I wish I had bought a few of them. Nice. Larry said, I said tongue oil. I meant true oil. Okay, there you go. Yeah, true oil is a very popular finish. Even Eric Schaefer of Eric Schaefer Guitars, he uses true oil on, I dare say, almost all of his builds, and his look fantastic. It's kind of a longer process, right? You know, you've got to apply several coats over several days, and and then you got to polish it. You know, it's a fair bit of work, but it looks great. I myself have not used true oil. One day I'll try it out and see what all the buzz is. Robert said, I just watched Big D do a tongue oil finish on a walnut burl top. He had but 6 or 8 layers, and then buffed it on a large wheel to a high gloss. Yes, absolutely. You can use tongue oil and get a high gloss finish. You absolutely can. Chris over at Highline Guitars, I've seen him do it. Yes, quite a few people have used tongue oil. The one time I used tongue oil on a project, I got tired of, get out of here, fly. I got tired of the smell after a couple of days, and I had to wait weeks before it didn't stink. So that was my, of course that was pure tongue oil. That wasn't a polymerized tongue oil, I don't believe. Larry says, yes, the Rubio was so easy, but aware of the lack of protection. I want to make sure I don't affect tone. Yeah, I spent a lot of time trying to understand how I was going to finish my first acoustic as well, because I didn't want to mess with the tone. I think a lot of times we spend more time in our head worried about how we're going to ruin the instrument, instead of just doing it, right? And that, I speak for myself, because I went back and forth a lot. I wanted to do the lightest coat possible. I considered an oil finish, but I wanted the protection, but I wanted the oil because tone. I think really in general, if we focus on doing our best work as neatly and cleanly as possible, and we don't go crazy with a finish, you're not going to kill it if you decide to spray on a few coats of lacquer or a few coats of, whatever, or wipe on several coats of true oil. You're just not. I really don't think you are. When it comes down to the microscopic level, does the finish affect the tone? I'm sure it does, but not. I don't think it has the effect that we put on it in our brains. You know what I mean? My first acoustic, I sprayed on four coats maybe. I think I did 1 or 2 sanding sealer, lightly sanded that off, sprayed on, I think it was 4, somewhere around there, 3 to 5 coats of water-based, what did I use? Was it Crystalac Bright Tone, I think it was, on the acoustic. Several coats of that, let it cure, wet sand, buffed it to high gloss, done. And it is the best sounding guitar I have ever played. I'm not saying that to like toot my own horn or anything, because it's not a perfect instrument by any means, but the sound is incredible, and I have zero doubts that the finish that I put on there killed the tone. It didn't. um, so, but really, all I can say is do your research, understand the pros and cons, which I believe you already do, um, and make the choice that you feel is the best, and don't regret it. Don't worry about it. Just proceed. Just do it. And the only way I can fully understand how something works is to do it and understand how it works. um, but I do feel that we spend a lot of times in our. I know me personally. I spend too much time in my head, and I worry about stuff like that. And instead of just doing it and finding out. Hope that makes sense. I'm not saying. I hope that didn't come off as, I don't know, cocky or something. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just saying, we're our own worst critic, and sometimes you just gotta go for it. Uh, Harry Dude says, I've used True Oil on a few necks and have been able to use them almost straight away. Refinished a neck in gloss poly, and the finish didn't settle for about a month. Yes, I've used the Crimson Oil like the next day. I'll apply it one day, the next day, it feels great. Sam says, thank you for today's fantastic stream, you legend. Sam, thank you. Thanks for being part of it. I couldn't do this without you and you and you and you and you and you. You guys are awesome. Robert said Scott from Sweet Tea uses Osmo Finish a lot. I love the feel. It has such a silky kind of feel. I think it would make an awesome finish. I'm gonna have to do a solid body at some point and just use Osmo. I did test it on a bass body, if you remember that, when I was building that T-Bird style Firebird T-Bird style bass. I did a pine body and I put Osmo on it, and it just has a cool feel. That was when I did a test body. I used the Osmo, not the actual one. Didn't. But Nicholas says finish is one of the things that actually has a measurable effect on the frequency of an instrument. It's discussed in the Gore Gillette books. Yes, it does. It does, and I'm not saying that it doesn't. My apologies if I tried to make it sound that way. I didn't at all. It wasn't my intent. It absolutely does affect it. All I'm saying is, for me, I worry about that stuff too much instead of just going for it. Yes, it does. Everything you put on there, the bridge affects it, the finish affects it, the size, the sound hole, the thickness, everything affects on an acoustic instrument. Absolutely, I agree 100%. Paul says, I feel that shellac is the best finish for an acoustic, but that's my opinion. I agree that it is likely one of the best. I've never tried French polish, but I think that would be a really cool way to do it, and one day I'm going to have to experiment with that. Robert says, one thing I've seen that people use, the Rubio Monocoat, is to help make it more durable, is to apply a ceramic coat, similar to what's used in automotive finish. The guys from Blacktail Studios. Really, they use a ceramic over the Osmo. Or Rubio. Interesting. Robert says uses it a lot. Uses it a lot in his tables. I'll have to check into that. A ceramic coating. Yeah, I know the auto body does a lot of that stuff. Nicholas says you're good. I 100% agree with you. Right on. I just wanted to make. I was hoping I wasn't trying to come off as negative or anything, because that wasn't my intent. So right on. Cool. Yeah, this is kind of cool. This is what I like this group. I like being able to hang out with you guys. We just can have random conversations about stuff like that and share our opinions and thoughts and ideas with each other, and it's awesome. I hope one day that we could all sit around the campfire and just talk or something. Wouldn't that be cool? Nicholas says French polish is easy to do. I follow Robbie O'Brien's method. I need to try that sometime. Get some shellac flakes, mix it up in some Everclear, and really just French polish. Yeah, I think that would be kind of cool. Looks very time consuming, but really, I mean, any finish is time consuming. Some of it's easy to apply, but then you got to wet sand and buff later on. You know, there's pros and cons to everything, right? It's just where what works well for me may not work well for you, or what you choose to use I might not choose to use. And I don't feel that there's anything wrong with any of it, honestly. I really don't. I'm sure you've all been in the conversations with some people where they're like, this is the way you do it, and this is the only way you do it, and if you do it any other way than this, you're wrong. I just don't buy into that sort of ideology. Sam says, how's the weather there? Well, Sam, fall is slowly moving in. Last week was cold, flat out cold. We had one morning that was 39 degrees. That was the coldest morning we've had all summer. But last week we didn't get out of the 60s, which is about 15. It was about 15, 16 Celsius. I think, yeah, that's right. So it was a little chilly. I actually had to turn on the heat in the house because it got pretty cold in there. But this week we're in the 70s. It's beautiful outside. You know, it still has a bit of that wonderful fall feel. Sadly, we don't get a whole lot of our leaves change here, but we don't get the colors like we get on the East Coast. We don't get all the different reds and oranges and all that. But it's nice here now. We're supposed to have really nice weather for a while, but I'm just it's fall. It's coming into fall. Wait, is it fall? What's the date today? Is today fall? Nope, tomorrow's fall. It's still summer. Nicholas says to Robert, how do you know? Do you know what he uses to apply, and where to get the coating materials? Yeah, I'm interested, Nicholas. That sounds ceramic coating for wood. I got to look into that because that would be cool. Ceramic coat on auto body stuff, automotive. That's pretty cool stuff. Dallo says, I have one shellac finish guitar, and it really melted when playing after drinking, but I love it. Oh no, did you like spill something on it? Sam says, we got rain and storms in the UK. We had a little some rumbles of thunder yesterday, and just a few sprinkles fell, but not much really for storms. Robert said to Nicholas, Blacktail talks about it in almost all of his videos. I think it's called N3 coating, but not 100% sure. He has links to it on his information page. I'm going to have to look that up. Nicholas says that melting is why I use button shellac and not the flakes. I left vodka on a test piece for 2 minutes, wiped it off, and no effect. What's button shellac? I'm not familiar with button shellac. All I'm familiar with is either the pre-mixed stuff that you can get at like the hardware store, or the flakes. Robert says he has a kit that has the applicator and the curing of the coating fluid. Yeah, I got to look into that. R. Wagner says, yeah, he has links for the finish. It's really good. I got to check into that. I'm legitimately interested. I got to learn more. That's another thing why I love hanging out with you guys. I learn so much too. And I appreciate that. Yeah. Thanks, Robert. R. Wagner says Blacktail Studios. It is. Yep. Paul says, got to go. Have a great week. Yeah, I got to wrap this up too. We are well past the hour, which is fine because I love it when we get into these interesting topics. Yeah, I think we're gonna wrap this up here, guys. I gotta connect. I gotta take this box inside and get things plugged in. I gotta do some editing and a little bit more filming. I gotta get back to work, basically. So Dallas says, didn't know that. I should find the type of shellac for my building. I'm going to have to look at that too. Neptune says, everyone have a fantastic week. You guys, thank you so much for taking time out of your day, hanging out here at Home Built Workshop Wednesday Live. Remember, every Wednesday, 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, we're here hanging out, talking about all the stuff we talk about, enjoying coffee and just hanging out together. You guys have an awesome week. If you're not already subscribed, double check, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate all of you guys. Couldn't be doing this if you guys weren't here to hang out with me as well. So I appreciate you. Thanks a lot. You guys take care. Stay safe. Stay well. And we'll see you guys next week. Get out in your shops. Make some cool stuff. Build some cool instruments. Build whatever. Just go build some stuff. Take care, guys. We'll see you next time.